Well, hello, family and friends. This is Elder J. Russell Harris. Listen, I am so honored and delighted to be on the live tonight with our Stay Woke panel. Tonight, I have the honor and the privilege to be one-on-one with the Sheriff of Edgecombe County, North Carolina, none other than the Honorable Sheriff Cleveland Clee Atkinson. So listen, what I want you to do real quickly for me is I want you to share this live, because tonight we're really going to talk about some very impactful and powerful topics that we face as the black race and overall in nationality. Listen, tonight is going to be awesome. So please share this live with your friends. Let your people know that Elder Harris is on with Sheriff Clee Atkinson right now. So share this live, like it, subscribe, do whatever you need to do to let somebody know that we are on tonight, and tonight is going to be impactful. Listen, I understand that in order to start change, it first starts with the conversation. So will you help me? If you like, hit the love button, do whatever you want to do tonight. But listen, help me welcome none other than Sheriff Clee Atkinson. I'm glad to have you, Sheriff. Glad to have you, Sheriff. So listen, we're going to get started. I just want you, like you said, we're going to be relaxed tonight. So tell me about yourself. Tell me how you got to where you are right now.
Well, first of all, I'm just a simple and humble guy. I love people, regardless of what your nationality is or your cultural background. At the end of the day, you've got to have a love for people in my position. I'm from Wilson. I come from a very loving family. I was raised in an extended family, grandparents, uncles, aunts, all in one house, mom, they're all in one household. And they taught me to always respect people, always be clean, be neat. First impressions is everything. You leave that with anyone that you meet. If I never see you again, just know that I've changed the atmosphere. And my people raised me that way. One of the biggest accomplishments of my life, just going through school, is to be nominated class president for all 4 years. And that said a lot for me. Team captains and things like this. I love the game of football because it teaches you so much about teamwork and hard work. Of course, you went on to college, did your thing. How I got into law enforcement, I saw a state trooper in the Edgecombe County Courthouse. And he came in, he had his mouth shut. He didn't say anything to anyone. He sat down and he observed the courtroom. And it was business. I graduated, I came back to Wilson, North Carolina. I want to be a member of the Wilson Police Department. And they say I was not qualified. And because I wanted to go back home and give back to the city of Wilson. And lo and behold, I didn't get dejected. Contacted the Highway Patrol. They gave me a chance. That's what life is about.
Give a chance.
Life is about giving people an opportunity to shine. Of course, I spent about 21 years on the Highway Patrol. Make a long story short, they were good to me. I was good to citizens in Edgecombe County. God saw fit to have me here as a sheriff, in short. I really don't like talking about myself. But I will say this, I was raised right. I had some people that were tough on me. I had people from different backgrounds that poured into my life. That's why if you see me, I'm gonna pour into someone else's life, because there are so many people that helped me get to this point. So many different backgrounds, black, white, Hispanic, they poured into my life. And so my job is to make sure I lead with everybody that's poured into my life.
Yeah, that's good. I like the part when you said giving chances. I'll never forget, and much respect to Deputy Sean Manning.
Yeah.
Much respect to him and his family. I'll never forget you gave words at that funeral. I was there.
Wow.
And you told the story about how he came to you at your church.
He's persistent.
And he said, I want to come work for you. And you talked about how you gave him a chance. And that's the main thing. I think we, especially black men, all we need is a chance.
That's it. At the end of the day, I can remember being in law enforcement my first and my second year. I didn't have a clue. And my training officers, they molded me. I saw what true leadership was. And sometimes it's what anyone needs. It's just give people a chance. And I think that's what some of the fight across America is. And we do re-entry, and that's shifting gears for a second. We do re-entry back there in our detention facility. And that's a story that I hear, man, give me a chance. I'm a firm believer that if a man or woman has paid their debt to society, all of us deserves another chance.
Right.
And in my case, I've been given 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 chances. So that's just who I am. I represent so many people. And just shifting gears another second, you know, people will walk up to me all the time and they'll say, well, Sheriff, you guys gave an oath. It's what you guys signed up for. And I look at them and I smile. And I say, you know, but before I was the sheriff and before I was in law enforcement and for all of my deputies in law enforcement across America, what people are failing to realize is before all of that, I gave an oath to be a good son. I gave an oath to be a good father. I gave an oath to love my neighbor that's in the Bible. I gave an oath to be a good husband, a good leader in my community. And I think sometimes we forget that. And I think if we go back and fix some of those things, we wouldn't be seeing a lot of things we're seeing today across America.
That's true. That's true. But and to go back, you know, that second chance is all in, to make it biblical to those, you know, to our church people that's watching. It's all about grace.
Listen, man, it's crazy. And I want this to be an intimate conversation. I ask for new grace and mercy every night at 11:59. Because at the end of the day, I've messed up so many times. But I get up and I do it, and God allows me to do it all over again. There's something that I heard during the day that I shouldn't have heard. Something that I saw that I shouldn't have seen. And there's something that I said that I should not have said to anyone. And at 11:59, or whenever I lay my head down, God just give me new grace and mercy so I can get it right once again. And I think that's a true mark of leadership. One of the things that I do here at the Edgecombe County Sheriffs Office, I give my team a chance to correct me and tell me my failures. If I get it wrong and they don't correct me in a respectable manner, because I do hold the title that I hold, and my team, they do a great job of it. I get it right. Constructive criticism is good when you're in leadership. And I love my team for that because they want me and the Edgecombe County Sheriff's Office to succeed.
Well, that's a good thing. I'm from, you know, my law enforcement background. I started Caledonia in the prison, and then I came here. This was my old stomping grounds. And under Sheriff Knight. Much respect to Sheriff Knight and his family. One of the things that I do commend you on and I applaud you on is your leadership.
Thank you.
Number one, what I like about you so much is that you are a very personable person. You're hands-on. And for someone with as much power and as much, well, with your title and who you are in the county, the top elected official, you don't find much of that.
I don't know any other way to be. It is a heavy title, and it took me a long time to understand that. I'm thankful. I'm grateful. It kind of got me emotional thinking about it. Hard work. Every day I go home, I'm mentally drained. I'm mentally tired because I'm pouring into other people. And people don't realize that when you pour into people and you give them all you got, you should be tired. And so every day I go home, I want to be tired in a positive way. And I want to have a positive impact on whoever I touch during the day. So there's no other way to really say it. I always tell people all the time, there's work to be done. And sometimes this is the spiritual side of it. But I work till I die. As long as I got breath in my body, I'm going to work. And so that's the way I feel with just being a leader.
I want to touch back on something you said. You said you allow your guys, and I know, you know, if you're not in law enforcement, you know, there's a major and then you have a command staff. But one of the things that you allow your team to hold you accountable.
Yes, that's the term that I like. Yes.
Talk about having that circle around you that will hold you accountable.
you know, we had to get that straight from the start. Don't tell me everything that I'm doing right, but be respectful with it.
Right.
Don't tell me how good things are going. Tell me some things that I can fix. Tell me some things that I can make this Edgecombe County and the citizens better. And so I give them that freedom to do so. And they do it respectfully. There have been several times where my executive assistant, my chief deputy, I love those two, my whole command staff, love all of them, love my whole staff, my attendant. There have been several times they've kept me out of trouble. That's what you do for leadership. At the end of the day, before I even lay my head down and leave this building, if I wrong somebody or staff, I tell them. And we get it right before we go home. So I give them the freedom to make sure. Because if I can't keep this house straight, how am I going to keep so many residents around here in order? And that's a poor choice of term. But I got to keep the Edgecombe County Sheriff's Office straight first. And part of their responsibility is to make sure I keep it right. And they correct me. They fix it.
That's good.
And that's my primary return to. I said, let's fix it. We don't argue. We don't fuss. Let's fix it. That's the bottom line. Let's fix it.
So you've been the sheriff now, how many years now?
3 years.
3 years.
It has flown.
Well, talk about. Tell us from talk about day one. What you felt that day.
Thankful. Grateful. I can remember before the appointment, when I was still at my old job as a state trooper. God was trying to open up a door for me, and I was holding the doorknob. I couldn't sleep at night. All I could think in my mind was, you got 7 years left to retire with the state for 30 years. That's all I could think about. And it was selfish. And all I kept hearing was, they need a leader. And when I stopped worrying about it, and I released, the door came open and I was able to step in. It's been fun. It's been some tough times because I had some tragedies like Deputy Manning. And I've had some hardships in 3 years. I've had sheriffs call me and say, hey, you've been through some things that we hadn't been through in 10 and 15 years. But it can't break me. I do a lot of praying. Some of the things we've been through as a staff, I couldn't have got through this point without my team. My team holds me up. That's leadership. That's the mark of good leadership. When they see me falling and when they see me get weak, they call and they text and they say, get your head up. And I can see their faces. That's why I drive to where I do. We've done a lot of great things in 3 years. If I can grab my list, because there were so many.
And that's another thing. I want to tell us, what's the progress been like?
Morale. Every day that I come to work, I speak to everybody in the building if I can. As a leader, I set the tone. No one sets the tone, I set the tone. I make sure, are you okay? Because if you don't know, if I don't know my people are doing okay during the day, they can't work that hours, they're struggling. So morale was a big thing for me. I'm just gonna roll through some things. Our core values, we came through these things: respect, integrity, and professionalism. That's what we live by. And when citizens see that we're outside of this, somebody need to be calling me. When they see that we're not being respectful, and when they see my team don't have any integrity about themselves, and when they see that we're not professional, somebody just call me so I can fix it. That's my job. We've increased training with little to no budget. Training is big, and we're going to talk about the things that's going around America. Training is big.
We'll touch on that.
And training costs money.
And
that's what our citizens got to understand. We want a well-trained law enforcement officer, but guess what? It costs to train law enforcement. And I'm just going to skip because I know time, we can talk all day long, but I'm so proud of our core program, the Coordinated Opiate Recovery Effort. I mean, our core program that's all around Edgecombe County, his brothers do a great job. The Shine Citizens Academy, man, it's only 2 years in existence. I'm thankful for that. A biofeedback program in our detention facility. Are You Okay program with our senior citizens. They get a chance to, for whoever want to sign up, it's a free program. If you got a grandmother who's home by herself, you sign up, and we'll talk about that later. we'll call back and make sure she's okay. So it's great programs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Community food distribution, we do 4 times a year. We have so many coaches, basketball, football, soccer, baseball officials, you name it, we've got them here at the Sheriff's Office. Not promote those things because we're out in the community. Also, we do an Employee of the Month. It's great that I recognize my people. I see what they do. It's only a small token, but for me as a leader to recognize it, it goes a long ways. I give out birthday cards. I take the time to sign 20 birthday cards every Monday and just write them a little message and say, hey, I see it's your birthday. That goes a long ways. My training facility, which is big for us down in Pine Tops, it got flooded out so many times, but it was big for me to get that back up and running because so many law enforcement agencies train at that facility. And I'm pushing, and one of the biggest things is equipment. We've changed our tasers. We were operating with 18-year-old weapons, sidearms. We've changed all of that. We had to improve our fleet, and we just recently moved to a new comfortable Class B uniform. Our young people. And one of the bigger things that I've enjoyed is recruiting from my own community. When you start talking, I know we're gonna dive into that thing. I try to recruit men and women that live in this community, and that is big. So that's just some small things that has helped us out along the way.
Well, listen, I'm here with Sheriff Clee Atkinson, the Sheriff of Edgecombe County. Do me a favor real quick, share this live. We're about to dive into some good topics. And as you said, everything that you're doing right now, Sheriff, it's a price tag to it.
Right.
It costs to do.
Right.
I worked in the jail back there, so I really know what it's like to have the feces thrown at you.
Right.
The urine thrown at you.
Right.
So I was a little bothered and a little bothered in my spirit when I started hearing the term defund the police.
Woo, yeah.
What's your thoughts on that, Sheriff? What are your thoughts on when you hear the term defund the police?
We can't do it. In my situation, because it's a touchy topic. I get it. I kind of see where it comes from. You want to take monies here to give back to the mental health facilities. And we need these things. Law enforcement, we're wearing so many different hats. But when you say defund the police, it's not a good thing. We need more mental health facilities. We need more drug addiction facilities. We need more recreation departments. We need more trauma centers for children that see violence in their own neighborhoods. We need those things. But we also need a well-trained law enforcement professional. I tell my guys all the time, we're not cops. And I can't stand that term. But when you're well-trained, we need more of them. Training is big. So when you say defund the police, one of the major things that comes to my mind are the programs that I listed before you, and some I didn't. Those are the first things that's gonna go. Every sheriff, every chief, we're trying to make things work in our communities, and we're trying to rob Peter to pay Paul, and trying to take things from this budget and that budget to make programs work, so we can better help our citizens in our community. We hold these conversations. So defunding the police or law enforcement, I'm against that. In my case, if you defund me anymore, I'm not gonna have anything. So you can't defund me no more than what you already have. In my case, I want to increase. When I came in the door, one of the things I missed was we didn't have enough school resource officers. So I had to increase that with no budget. So some of the things we're trying to fix and make right. And so when we have these subject matters of defunding the police, and I know where the subject matter and the topics come from, especially with larger cities. You start dealing with bigger cities. I mean, they have big budgets. When you start dealing with rural areas like myself, a rural sheriff, we don't have big budgets. And so it would tremendously hurt this area when you start the subject matter of defunding the police.
And so I think a lot of that has come from the recent tragedies that's happened.
Yeah.
Especially with George Floyd.
Yeah.
You know, we'll go back to him. But tell us, because I remember you had something, you showed us, tell us what, and I don't want to really touch too long on it for the sake of time, but what happens when the police are defunded? I mean, because you were showing us this sure. Down here. I want to...
You know, when you start pulling these off the streets, when you start pulling these big rounds out of little old ladies' yards, and shots fired, and sometimes we don't have in our county, sometimes 5 and 6 deputies working at a time, sometimes maybe even 4, and we start looking response times. And we start to find pulling these out of trunks and stopping cars. Some citizens got weapons bigger than what we're carrying in our cars. So that's an upgrade that we have to get also, buying rifles. So when we stop cars and people say we're pulling out guns, we're trying to combat things like this. And so when the subject matter defunding the police comes up, things like this scare me. Because we're pulling these out of trunks left and right. And when you hear the conversations of law enforcement, and these bullets going through vests and going through houses and going through cars, it's tough to deal with when you got to entertain the conversation of defunding the police. These are scary. These are really scary. I'm glad you remember that. So when I see videos across America, when it's time to walk up to cars and pull these out of back seats, and pull them out of trunks, and you knowing to go and stop a car that you are armed with this information that this is perhaps in a car, and if you don't have this in your trunk or something bigger than this, it's scary when it's time for us to do our job. And believe it or not, a lot of law enforcement deputies and sheriff's officers cannot afford to have assault rifles in their cars because of funding. And that's what's scary. You know, and I know we're going to touch on it in a few minutes. You know, a lot of citizens think that every law enforcement agent, they say, we want to see the body cams. First thing fly out. Well, guess what? Every agency is not required to have body cams, and plus, every agency cannot afford to have body cams. And these are the things that citizens should be jumping up and down for.
So, and that leads me to my next question. Seeing how so many African Americans are killed each year by police encounters, what is your advice to citizens and even to police officers, and more so to that citizen that's a law-abiding citizen having an interaction with a police officer? What is your perspective when the compliant, respectful, de-escalating citizen is met with an officer that's not doing the same?
Guess what? And that happens. We can't sit here and act like that don't happen.
Right.
Because it does. But guess what? That's why I'm in place, and that's why police chiefs are in place. That's why chief deputies and captains and lieutenants are in place. If we see that officer that you're professional and you're saying yes or no, and I'm going to 100 and I'm going off, somebody need to be turning and say, hey, this officer is a loose cannon.
A loose cannon.
And somebody need to be, that's where accountability comes into to play. Somebody's got to notify me. That was a part of that question, if you can rewind it back.
Yeah. I
was trying to listen to the first part of that question because I want to answer that in parts.
So what is your advice to the citizens and even police officers that's law-abiding, having an interaction with police?
Right. Look, the main thing is for the citizen and the law enforcement officer to leave that encounter peacefully. That's it. You know, at the end of the day, I try to train my guys. You know, if I come up to a scene and a citizen is yelling and the deputy is hollering, I don't know which one is the professional. I need to walk up and be able to say, hey, that's what I've trained him or her to do. But the biggest thing for both to leave safely, both to leave safely.
Mm-hmm.
I want citizens to go home safely, and I want that law enforcement officer, my deputy, to leave there peacefully,
Right.
and to have a professional encounter.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I've seen across America, whether it be in law enforcement or whether it be just with people in general, people are not obedient.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that
mm-hmm.
because sometimes my deputies are not obedient
Mm-hmm.
to rules.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? If I see that in law enforcement, and I'm seeing it across America, and I see it across Edgecombe County,
Mm-hmm.
people do not like to follow rules.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to correct that for one. And that's for everybody,
Right,
not just law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
We need to learn how to follow rules. But the main thing is for the citizen to go home safely,
Right.
and for the law enforcement officer to go home
Right.
safely.
Right. So let me just touch on this. Of course, I had mentioned him earlier, and I lost my train of
That's
thought.
okay.
George Floyd, of course, really shined a light on the black male. He shined a light on the black male, allowing the world to see what we as everyday men face daily. And one of those things mainly is being racial profiling. So how do we eliminate and bring down the pandemic known as racial profiling?
You know, I shared this a few weeks ago because every time I think about that, I've only seen that video one time. Regardless of what Mr. Floyd did, regardless of what his background was, no person should have been treated that way.
Right.
When I watched the video as a trainer, as a law enforcement professional, as a man, I felt helpless.
Mm.
I felt helpless to the point to ask myself, how can we fix this? See, because once we get through this, you're hoping, especially as a leader, that this doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And so the scary thing for me as a sheriff and as a leader, my anxiety went up when I saw this. Because even though this happened in Minnesota, we felt the effects all across America.
Yes, we did.
And so when I saw the video the first time, I was hurt. Because the guys and ladies that I know in law enforcement, I know they wouldn't treat people that way. And how I train every day, I really don't know how I would react as a sheriff if one of my people did that. Every day I think back to that video because the media, they played it time and time again.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And if you're not mature enough to receive what you're seeing, it will make you angry. So all across America, as the media showed this video, people got angry.
Yeah.
I knew then I had to regroup. And I'm gonna go back to your question because I had to. It's tough thinking about.
Yeah.
When I see things like this, I try to go to civilians and ask them questions. And one of the things that I asked my executive assistant, and I asked her, how did you feel about the video? And I said, I want a true answer. Or how do you feel about the situation? She said, Sheriff, you know, I work around law enforcement, I work around you, I work around the chief. I'm comfortable. But I'm afraid for my uncles and my brothers and my nephew. That hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's an extension of me.
Right.
At work. And right then I realized we've got a problem.
Yeah.
In law enforcement, we do it day in and day out. And let me say this, there's some good brothers and sisters in law enforcement. They're black, they're white, they're Hispanic, they're Asian, they're Native American. It's some good brothers and sisters. But as a leader, when we see this type of behavior, and I thank God because I'm the sheriff, I can release a person at will, because you work at the pleasure of the sheriff.
Right.
But when you see this type of behavior, you've got to handle it quickly. And I know I went off in the left field a little bit. How do we fix it? Brother, as raw as I can answer you, if your mind and your heart is nasty, and if your heart and your mind, you don't understand that loving people is one of the things that is mandatory, that we must do. As law enforcement, we recruit from people. We don't go to Mars and recruit people. We recruit from the public.
Yeah.
And sometimes we miss it. We may miss a person who may have not been culturally diverse, who may see things one side. But hopefully as a leader, I can catch it. Hopefully we can train and do some mentorship. So to answer your question as real as I can, I'm hoping that every law enforcement officer can put aside all the silliness and the foolishness you think of a particular culture. We've got to get better together. We've got to learn each other for where we're at.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I don't know if we can fix that while we're on earth. I really don't. I used to be an instructor, and I used to have guys come to me and say, man, Clee, we really got to take this class. And so you just take the class to keep your certification. That's how real this stuff is. But if you really want to change, and you say, you know what, I'm not going to be that guy, that's when you truly become a professional. So I'm being as real as I can. I can sit here and tell you, man, I'm going to send them through 80 hours of training and beat them. Yeah, I can send you, but if you don't receive it, don't mean anything.
You know, I work from home right now. Work from home, and so CNN is on my TV all day long. And of course, like you said, CNN played it repeatedly. Of course, it brought out an anger in me, but the main thing it brought out was a fear. And this was a fear as a black man with a wife and 2 kids I haven't felt before. And I'm sure, because I know you can give a word or two of encouragement on this. What do you say to a black man like me, where seeing that brought about a fear because you're scared that if I walk out my door, will that happen to me?
I don't think it's so much of what I say as what I do. And of course we can have conversation and dialogues. Yes, I can say some positive things and I can uplift. Right. But if you know the person that I am, and if you know the person of so many different law enforcement personnel, whether male or female, whatever the coach may be, if you know, I think we should be reaching out, and we've got to do a better job in law enforcement. And let me say this, even our communities, if we're feeling a certain type of way, because you said a magic word, I had citizens, black and white, had white citizens calling us, the sheriff, we need some help because we're dealing with what is white privilege. I had citizens calling me when that stuff, it was hot. I had some of my black citizens calling me, and they were outraged. And what I saw as a leader, I got to bring my people together. I've got to bring my people together to have serious, uncomfortable conversation. Because I had some great people on all sides of the fence, and they were asking questions, and they were great questions. When we don't know something, we fear it.
Right. That's true.
That's what
That's
it
true.
is. We fear it.
Yeah.
And so it hurts me to hear even you say it. And granted, you're not the only one to say, hey, man, you were scared as a father.
Yeah.
My son, he's 28 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
I gave him the talk
That's all.
when he was 13.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, hopefully he don't get stopped by law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got this thing. You may not need a video, but dial my number so I can hear the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
because I know about how that conversation should go if
Mm-hmm.
you get stopped.
Mm-hmm.
All I can do on behalf of a leader to answer your question,
Mm-hmm.
we've got some work to do, but forgive me. Forgive every leader that's not gotten it right. I don't know how to remove that at this time, because here's the thing. I don't have fear. And I'm trying to see the right way to kind of answer your question, because I felt that, is what I'm saying. I feel that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got to put myself in position to have this conversation with a lot of more brothers that are feeling the same way you are. I'm trying to see how I can wrap that all around.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to have more small conversations
Yes.
about that, because I take it a lot of people are afraid. When that happened, they really got afraid. And like I say, the imagery of it was just unreal. And I told people time and time again, I didn't expect the people with the cell phones that go attack the police department while this was occurring. But a lot of times citizens call me and say, Sheriff, are you aware that this is going on right now? And I said, no, I don't. And I get on that radio and I'll say, hey, any deputy that's such and such, and they'll respond. And I kind of wonder why a citizen didn't call the police chief or the mayor and say, hey, this is what we got going on. But we're in the age of technology. Everybody stood and videotaped. And so I'm looking at, where are we at in society? I'm not asking you to go attack the police and knock them over. I'm not saying that. But where are we in society where we're going to sit back and video a man dying? So that bothered me. Because I would have been saying or doing something.
And so, again, I'm with Sheriff Cleveland Clee Atkinson. If you will, just take a moment and share, and not only share this live, but also reflect, because it could have been your son, it could have been your daughter, you know, it could have been any one of us. But I just want you to take a moment to reflect and just be thankful.
Right.
And thank God for His grace and His mercy that allows you the opportunity to see another day. And so I want to shift gears, because as we certainly know that all lives matter.
Right.
But there's been more light on Black Lives Matter.
Right.
I want to know, what's your thoughts on Black lives and how they matter today?
Oh man, this is a subject matter I think can be talked about for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And I can take it so many different places. First of all, if you're over 40 and you're still having discussions and you're in debate, sit down and talk to young people. That's what I did. Because those are the ones that's crying out right now. Those are the ones that are angry and they want questions right now. And that's what I did. And I had a chance to talk to a lot of young people. And I said, what is Black Lives Matter? What does it mean? Because like you said, the subject matter is all lives matter, blue lives matter, and the pushback would be Black Lives Matter. But I think the debate, if there's such a thing, is it seems like Black lives don't even matter at all. And then I stretch it just a little bit further. As a sheriff, when I show up, and because these are two different subject matters, I stretch it down a little bit further. And when I say it seems like Black lives doesn't matter at all, sometimes I don't even think it matters to some African American teens themselves. And so I think that's the subject matter. When you start talking police brutality, and it occurs, and you start bringing in the subject matter of Black Lives Matter, or seem to don't matter at all, and then you have conversations with young African American males, and then it seems like they don't even value life themselves. That's when the totality of everything comes into play. Mm-hmm. Something is wrong.
Right.
Something is really wrong. And so somewhere we've got to fix that. Mm-hmm. We've got to fix the fact that, yeah, your life matters. Yeah, all lives matter. You'd be a fool to not think that. Mm-hmm. You'll be a fool to not think blue lives don't matter. You'll be a fool to not think, but you will also be foolish from what we're seeing all across America. It doesn't desire protests. The protest was George Floyd. But in the African American community, we need to be meeting and marching over the value of Black Lives Matter. Because at the end of the day, both of them bother me. Yeah. Police brutality bothers me. Mm-hmm. I'm a big supporter of law enforcement. Mm-hmm. It's been great. I know some brothers and sisters that have trained me, and they are elite. But both of those bother me. So what I've done was sit down with young people and have them explain to me, what's the vision? Where are we going with this? And I'm telling you, they're smart. Mm-hmm. They're intelligent. Yeah. They know where they want to go with this. Yeah. Now, the people that are around some of the stuff that are looting and doing all those crazy things, now, we don't condone that mess. That is foolishness. Yeah. That is foolish. You turn up your own neighborhood, mm-hmm. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the protests peacefully, mm-hmm. I can see where they're coming from. Mm-hmm. I shared with somebody, and these are things that we really got to consider and talk about. When the protests first came about, and people were breaking into stores and they were looting and they were tearing things down, and somebody asked me, they said, well, Sheriff, look, you know, they're stealing, they're taking TVs and they're taking couches and all that stuff. But here's the thing. When you've never had anything, mm-hmm. opportunity. Oh. And I'm not saying that things are right. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that stealing and I'm not saying that looting is right. But if you don't shift the mindset, mm-hmm. and if you're not used to having nice things, when the opportunity exists to take it, mm-hmm. you're gonna take it. And so somehow we've got to have real conversation to be in the company of guys like myself, you, Chris. We've got to have real conversation. Look, listen, if you work for it, mm-hmm. and get yourself in position, mm-hmm. The store can stay open 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. You're going to know your mindset to walk right on past it. But if we don't give people opportunities, and if we don't give people that's the essential workers, and if we don't pay them accordingly, if we don't pay them livable wages, and if we don't give them adequate housing, mm-hmm. and if we don't give them second chances, there's a population of people that I'm going to get it at any means necessary. Now, is it right? It's not right. Right. But guess what? That's what we're going to continue to get. Mm-hmm. They're going to take until we give people opportunity. Wow. So it's tough. It's tough to wrap my head around. So, you got a guy. And he don't even know, I know he's watching, and he don't even know I'm about to bring his name up. His name is James Silver. Yes, sir. And I see him all the time. Mm-hmm. And he's engaging with the community. Shout out James Silver. Yeah. Shout out to other officers. Mm-hmm. I mean, there like I said, there are good officers out there. This is not to bash any police at all. But I want to really highlight him because I just saw him the other day in Moles. Mm-hmm. And he's a personable person. Yeah. I mean, he's out there. Mm-hmm. If you didn't know no better, you'll think he's the little sheriff around town. Yeah. But I bring him up because the follow up, you know, we both agreed that Black Lives Matter, but how do you think law enforcement should respond and engage with the community differently in view of the reality that Black lives are in danger and there is a problem? I think I touched on it a few minutes ago. Let me go back to the first part of your question. Right. I have a lot of deputies like Deputy Silver. Yeah. And he was just one I just want to highlight. No, you're fine. I see him all the time. We're just having a good time. Yeah. I know some Rocky Mount police officers. Yes. I know some state troopers. Deputies. I know, man, when you get to know people, mm-hmm. and I'm crying out to the community as well. Mm-hmm. Go up to them and say something. Man, I'm telling you, it's some magnificent people in law enforcement.
Right.
Some great people, man.
Yeah.
This is what we do. And I've got so many like that here at the Edgecombe Sheriff's Office. You know what I tell them? I got, it's amazing that you said something about little sheriffs.
Uh-huh.
God has been so good to me, brother. Has given me the ability to lead like no other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not afraid of any man, and how I train my people. I train my ladies and I train my gentlemen. I train them to be the next sheriffs.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So when you said that,
Wow.
that is the training.
That's a reflection.
That is the training, because a lot of sheriffs are, hey man, you don't want nobody to get your position. Somebody could be politicking behind your back. Guess what? If they're ready, and God can move me somewhere else, He can use me. So what I do at the Edgecombe Sheriff's Office is I tell my people, get in position. Get in position so you can see how I'm operating. So when I leave the Edgecombe Sheriff's Office better than how I found it. This is the mark of leadership across America. So if I was to leave here, there should be 20 guys ready to step up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's damaging to know if I left here and nobody's ready to step up, I have failed as a leader.
Right. That's true. That's true.
So I've got a lot of them, black, white. I've got some that I'm putting in position, just like the young man that you said. At the end of the day, we've got to have conversation. The community cannot be afraid to come talk to us. The community has a role to play in this also. The community, when law enforcement comes in, when there are serious issues in our community, the community gotta engage us. And I hear it all the time that the community don't trust law enforcement. Well, guess what? Who's gonna break that in the community? When little grandma's getting her house shot up, and when we show up, nobody wants to talk to us. We're here to help. Or when you arrive on the scene and someone says, get him, law enforcement officer. And that's one of the worst things that people can say. You scare a little 3-year-old, get him. Yeah. Take him to jail. Like, what in the world? Whoa, 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 whoa. So we do a lot of correcting. What I would say is communicate.
Yeah.
We gotta talk.
And it's so funny you say that, you scare little 3-year-olds. My daughter, to this day, she is on the fence.
Right.
Because she know daddy was at one time law enforcement.
Right.
So she understands daddy, those your friends.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she's fearful.
Right.
Fearful of that.
Man, that hurts. I don't know how that hurts to hear.
Yeah. So let me I just want to ask though. So what does the community need to do then? What do you want to see the community do, I guess, to bridge this gap?
You know, just talk to us. If the community's got concerns or have concerns, bring them to us. Man, we really have an open door policy. I know so many sheriffs, so many chiefs. We really have an open door policy. Bring them to us. If there's a situation, Sheriff Stone gave my telephone number out on live TV a couple weeks ago. Guess what? I really don't care because I'm a public servant. Yeah. I'm an elected official. I work for listen, the great thing about being a sheriff, I don't have a boss, and I hate that term. God is my supervisor. But guess what? I don't answer to them. I answer to the people. Right. So the people need to talk to me and show me their concerns. Right. I just need for them to talk to us. I need for the citizens to understand that you've got people in place that you can trust. Right. That's it. Right. And we'll try to fix it and get it right. There's so many times. One of the things that really disappoints me a lot since I've been the sheriff, instead of calling me or calling other leaders in our community, they go straight to social media. Yeah. And they start posting things that are not factual. And then we got to get behind it and like, whoa, this is not true. You don't know all the facts. But instead of just picking the phone up and call us, it may be something that I don't know. I can fix it.
Well, that's our downfall. And I'll speak for many of our generation. I think the thing we have lacked is communication. We get it right now. We're good.
One of the things that we have to do is hold these uncomfortable conversations. We don't have to get mad with anyone. We don't have to, I disagree with that. We don't have to be at the house, grinding your teeth. Sometimes it's a difference of opinion. Right. And once you leave, you say, hey, let's further this conversation with a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And when we start and learn how to do that, man, America will be a better place. Our communities will be a better place. Just because me and you disagree
Mm-hmm.
or agree, I mean, I don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
Just we disagree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't have to beat you up
Right.
in my small circles.
Yeah.
It's too much of that going on,
Mm-hmm.
especially with this law enforcement piece,
Mm-hmm.
police brutality. We don't have to do that. You sit down with law enforcement professionals, and once again, you hold us accountable.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's the good thing, and I'll commend you because you don't find law enforcement like that, where you can sit one-on-one with them and say, listen, I don't like what you did, and you can be able to absorb it, but still take it respectfully, in a respectful manner.
And I expect for citizens to do that to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many times people call me
Mm-hmm.
and they say, Sheriff, we didn't like this.
Mm-hmm.
Sheriff, but could you accept the same criticism that I give you?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
right.
I see that they can't.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even say anything,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm strong enough to take it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of people praying for me,
Yeah. Oh,
and I need it.
Oh,
And that's well received when people send me things that uplift. But man, this is too simple for me. I believe in leadership. I believe in people. I believe in people even in their worst state, that they can get it right. And I think across the world with law enforcement, and I want everybody to understand, I've seen more good law enforcement than bad. It is some great people that wear these uniforms and go in and day out, do what we do, protect communities. And I'm telling you, what's the toughest thing for law enforcement sometimes, even in the midst of George Floyd's death, was to go in communities knowing how people felt about us and do the job.
Oh, yeah.
That was tough.
Oh, yeah.
And it feels good sometimes when people say they need us. And once again, I'm for law enforcement. I'm not for bad law enforcement.
Yeah.
I'm for that positive professional, and we've got a lot of that. I see a very small percentage of bad law enforcement, and then when we see them, we're gonna fix it.
Right.
I know so many professed sheriffs and chiefs, man, they're not gonna play with that. And just hold us accountable for it. That's all.
I know, especially when I was working back here in your jail back here, the main thing, I wanted to do was come to work and be able to go home.
Go home.
Do my 12 hours.
Yeah. And that's what's scary when you saw the weapons that I held up. People don't understand there's a fear.
That you guys hang with us during the technical difficulties. This is my old stomping ground. This is where I used to come back, and I was telling him that I was coming down these hallways on Sunday mornings, and I would come out over here, take showers, get ready for church. So I know all this little area. We are actually in the office area here at the Sheriff's Office, and we're going to wrap it up. Again, I just want to thank my friend, my big brother, and I say that with all sincerity. He is a big brother to me. I just want to thank him for allowing us to sit and talk and share. But we was just closing out, and I was just saying, the main thing as a law enforcement officer, you want to do your job, do your 12 hours, and go home.
You do, but in those 12 hours, we want to make sure we give our citizens 100%.
Right.
From what I'm hearing, and I can't speak for everybody else in other districts or counties, but here at the Edgecombe County Sheriffs Office, we're going to pride ourselves on giving our citizens 100%. And I want my men and women to know that they put in those 12 hours, and I want them to go home. Yeah. And that's what it's about. Not only do I want them to go home safely, but I also want the citizens to go home peacefully and safely also. Right. And just know that the citizens of Edgecombe County, we've got leadership here that we're going to hold our people accountable. But the biggest thing is we want to start making sure that our parents and our citizens are holding our young people accountable too. And so I want to say this. It starts in the home. Starts how we're raising our children. We've got to be held accountable as leaders in our homes, in our communities, and I want the citizens to know they can hold me accountable right here in the Sheriff's Office.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to wrap this up, but I just want to, most people may not know this, but he is a man of God and has a word. There's been a couple of people that's even shared the flyer leading up to this point, said, join in with Reverend Atkinson.
No. No.
So Chris said he one of them.
No.
So look, I really just leave us with a word of encouragement. Just leave us with something.
Listen, at the end of the day, all I want to do is understand it. Seriously, this is serious. I've gotten in trouble for this. Man, I love everybody. I could stand here before you and tell you and you, everybody that's listening, when you have love in your heart, God makes it mandatory for me as a leader to love. Even on my worst days, I forgave people that I know hated me. I forgave people as the sheriff that I know they tried to attack me as a leader. But at the end of the day, when people have tried to destroy me, God has lifted me up in ways like no other. And so at the end of the day, I want people to just be encouraged, man. Because at the end of the day, this is going to get better. And we're all going to get better together. Black, white, Hispanic, male, female, straight. We're going to get better together. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Loving people. Love you guys.
So listen, I want to thank each of you for joining us tonight. There shall be a part 2 with Sheriff Clee. And who knows, maybe we can bring in some others. But listen, join us next time. Until next time, remember, the main thing tonight is no matter how many times you mess up, God will give you the grace to get back up again.
Right.
No matter what you do in life, no matter what environment you come from, no matter what you have done, just remember that all things will work together
For the good.
for the good,
Yes, sir.
for those who love God.
Yes, sir.
Until next time, folks.